your right hand
Okay.
and repeat after me. I,
I,
Kate Stewart,
do
solemnly swear
that
I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and that I will be faithful
and that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of Maryland
to the state of Maryland
and support the Constitution
and support the Constitution
and laws thereof,
and laws thereof,
and that I will,
to
the best of my skill and judgment,
the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully, without partiality or prejudice, execute the office of Mayor of Takoma Park, according to the Constitution and laws of this state
and the laws of this state
and the laws of the city of Takoma Park.
and the laws of the city of Takoma Park.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Over the last 3 years, well, they may have been going flying for you, but it's been really, I think in a lot of ways, our city has accomplished a great deal. And when I look back over the last 3 years, and thinking about when this council first got together, and putting in place the Affordable Housing and Economic Development Strategic Plan. We hired a new police chief. So much happened over the last 3 years. Putting in place like a youth council and all of that. It's really incredible when I think back about what we were able to accomplish over the last 3 years. And I'm so glad that I'll be working with the same colleagues again as we're moving forward into these next 2 years, because they're going to be hard years.
I think a big part of it, and what's really important about the government here in the city, is the level of engagement that we have and how many people are actively involved as voters and in the campaigns and asking us, whether it's on the listservs or in person at the council meetings or in other ways, staying involved. And I think having the opportunity to engage with the public in that way is really great, and it's one of the things that makes the job fulfilling. That to me stands out more than one individual thing that we've worked on. But I do think that the action we're taking now and moving toward to bring a better approach to public safety and policing is really important. I'm looking forward to continue on that. The steps that we've taken on climate change are really important, and that's something that we're going to be continuing to focus on going forward. And I really want us to do more to promote inclusiveness. We've started to have a better approach to translating city documents and so on, but I'd like to see us do a lot more of that too. And I would say people think about these big initiatives like climate change or like some of these big development projects, and those are important, but I think I actually spend the majority of my time as a council member helping individual residents with individual problems, challenges, questions, difficulties they're having living in the city, and so I think that's a really important part of it too.
Well, I'm excited about a lot. I think that we set a lot of really good directions, and now we get to implement them. So the tree canopy, housing, economic development, climate, let's not forget climate. We've set the groundwork, the direction we want to go in, and now we can start to roll with implementing, and I'm very pleased about that.
I think in some ways the last 3 years have been pretty short. It's sort of hard to believe how fast they went. At the same time, we've been doing a lot over the past 9 months, especially with COVID, and to some extent it's sort of all a blur because we've been doing so much virtually. But I think kind of the last months have gone really fast, but also just been really intense, and everything we've been working on has been so essential and really critical to the future of Takoma Park. So I feel like, it's been fast in some ways, slow in other ways, but I'm really honored to have the chance to continue on the council and have another 2 years in this position.
First and foremost was Purple Line and its impact on businesses in Ward 6. That was a tremendous issue and still is. Even with the delays of the Purple Line, a number of businesses still have sidewalks that are broken up in front of their businesses' entrances that are still blocked by equipment. So in the upcoming session, it's going to be critically important that we continue to lobby on behalf of the businesses in Ward 6 that are negatively impacted by Purple Line construction. Another big thing has been the rec center. In a positive way, we've managed to bring on Brick and Story, which is a nonprofit group that has come in to help with facilitating community engagement activities around the rec center development at a time in which it's challenging to engage communities, and they've come up with some really innovative ways to do remote engagement, which has been really important for us as we continue to move forward on that. And then lastly, but definitely not least, has been challenges associated with the pandemic in and of itself. Trying to move to a remote council environment, reallocating budget dollars to make sure that we're able to provide services to people that desperately need it during this time. I think all of those things have been something that I reflect back on as being some really big, important things that we've had to deal with as a council.
Well, certainly the Takoma Junction development process, and how far we've moved along on that. I think the having the housing director and actually seeing the city take on some of the responsibility of dealing with the people and the problems those people face, that we've for so long had rent stabilization, and we've attracted low-income residents to the city. But it's so good to see the city is finally acknowledging that there's additional responsibilities for the city to help those residents and to pay attention to their issues, and not just the issues of the well-to-do residents of Takoma Park.
The past 3 years, what has really been exciting is the fact that we're finishing up the Flower Avenue Green Street project. This project has been in the works for probably 3 or 4 years before I even got on the council in 2012. So now we just have a punch list, probably about 10 different things that we need to do, and this will completely transform, I believe, Ward 5. It's an amazing thing. And it's probably one of the most complicated projects the city has ever undertaken. And we have spent $7 million total to make this project happen. It's unbelievable.
COVID is definitely number one. That's going to be keeping people healthy in their homes and our businesses open is a top priority, and that's going to take a lot of our focus right now. The second thing is that our city manager is retiring come July, and that'll be here before we know it. Susie Ludlow has been with the city for many years, has been our city manager, and finding someone to replace her and help do the day-to-day running of our city operations is going to be something else that's going to take up a lot of our time. We need to get this right. The other thing is that under the leadership of Councilwoman Searcy, we've been moving forward with the task force on reimagining public safety, and that'll be something else that we'll be really working on in the next couple of months.
I think in the next couple of years, it's going to be really essential, of course, that we focus on COVID and that we're really providing services and supports to community members who have lost jobs, who have concerns about housing, who have concerns about food, and really just focusing on that as really one of the top items that we're doing, because this is going to be such a critical time for our community. But then we also have to think long term as well and be focusing on creating policies and procedures that are going to last a long time and really setting ourselves up for a future where we have improved racial equity and racial justice in the city. So looking at our systems and improving them from that perspective, improving our public safety and policing methodology and the way that we go about that. Looking at climate change, of course, which is a huge issue that is an emergency, but I think has to some extent sort of taken a back seat to COVID just because of the immediacy of COVID. And so we have a lot ahead of us, and I think we're really going to have to focus on all of these things simultaneously and looking both at the short term and then looking ahead to the long term as well.
Certainly responding to COVID and reimagining public safety and how we're going to be working on racial equity. I think those two things stand out. But in addition, working as much as we can to keep the city affordable. That's a challenge right now. And I think an important part of that will be some of the ideas that we have in our housing strategic plan. And I think also continuing to make the government work better and have a better engagement along the lines of what I talked about before, and I think really managing development in a way that's consistent with our values. We have several big projects, the library, which we're standing right in front of right now, in Takoma Junction, and the Montgomery College building, and we're probably working toward the renovation of the New Hampshire Avenue Rec Center. So those four are crucial and require a lot of our work, and I think working on those things and climate change and responding to COVID, I don't think the next 2 years will be a time when lots of other brand new initiatives that we haven't really talked about so far will be coming up, because all the things we already have in the pipeline will be major. I think we could do some more on pedestrian and bike safety, moving toward a Vision Zero on that, but a lot of the other big things we're going to have to be working on that we already know what they are, I think. And picking a new city manager and alone, that's going to require a lot of work as well. So
you mentioned one of the other highlights from the past 3 years, which is our economic development director and someone paying attention to those small businesses and helping those small businesses. And it couldn't have come at a better time with COVID coming in. We now have the individual who could lead assistance to the small business to make sure that they continue to thrive through this very difficult time. The police task force of reimagining what police should be doing and how they approach their function is of vital importance. You see it now across the nation being talked about, but here in Takoma Park, we are not unique. We have those issues to face too. And I'm so glad that that we have formed that task force. That those concerns with policing have been paramount to ever since I got on the council, and I am so glad in fact the reason those issues are the reason that I decided to run for one more term, is because I'm so glad to see that the city is actually going to pay full attention to those issues and find some solutions.
Coming 2 years, I wish and I pray every day that this pandemic will end, but I don't anticipate things lightening up in the next 6 months or so. We could imagine that there will likely be additional shutdowns in the near future, and that's going to negatively impact all of our businesses. And so really trying to continue those efforts to lobby on behalf of our businesses for county and state funds, but also continuing to think creatively on ways in which the city can help support them during these trying times is going to be critically important. Another big thing that will be important over the next 2 years is hiring of a new city manager. That's going to be a really important decision that this council will need to make that will set the case for how work is done in the city going forward. And so it's going to be really important that we're able to come together and make a sound decision on who will take our current wonderful city manager's place going forward.
COVID-19, the pandemic has, made it so that there's an economic collapse going on for many people, not just in Takoma Park, Ward 5, but throughout the country. So we as a city are going to have to do something. It's going to be very difficult. There isn't any money, any more stimulus from the CARES Act for residents. Some people are hungry. People are on the verge of being evicted. It's a really tough time for people. So as a city, we're going to have to make sure that we do something to help these people. And I don't think that this is going to immediately change like flipping on a light switch after we have the new Biden-Harris administration. This is going to be lingering with us for a long time to come. And especially, what kids are missing not attending school. I saw in Wharton that people are losing thousands of dollars of their future incomes because they're not actually in a proper school setting. So this is going to be something that maybe we can call it COVID-20, that is going to impact us in ways that we just have not considered. And then the other thing is what's going to happen to the Washington Adventist Hospital campus. It's a unique opportunity. This is like a legacy project. So how do we, as jurisdiction, bring not just the residents of Takoma Park together, but those people that live in Silver Spring right next to Ward 5, how do we bring all these people together to build something, to create something that everybody can enjoy?
Well, you mentioned COVID. That's got to be number one, right? But we've worked out how to work together remotely. So as far as the city council making decisions and debating policy, I think we're doing pretty well. And yes, I think the first thing is to provide the resources that we need for COVID.
Oh, I thought it was great. I mean, having 4,000 more people turn out to vote this year than voted in our last city elections is amazing. We had a great deal of engagement from people all across the city. We still need to do some work to make sure people know about our elections and vote in them, but I thought it was terrific. Our Board of Elections and our city staff did an amazing job in really an unreal situation. We knew going in that we were moving our elections to on-year elections, but having to address COVID, do the mail ballots and everything else in such a short amount of time is really remarkable. They did a great job.
It was a great turnout. Ward 4 had over 600 voters this year, far in excess. I actually won an election with fewer than 50 votes in the past, and so it's very heartwarming to see the residents of Ward 4 turning out in those high numbers to vote. We initially changed the year of the election to coincide with the federal election, but I don't think that's what changed. I think the mail-in ballots is what really made the increase happen. It made it so much easier for people to vote, but not only easier, but I think it put the ballot in front of them at their kitchen table and got them to thinking about it and talking about it, and they actually submitted their votes, and I'm so happy to see the increase.
My experience has been that mail-in voting worked. I think it was for Ward 6, we had one of the best turnouts we've ever had. In the prior election, we had a little over 300 votes. This time around, it was over 700. I think it created a way for the voices of a number of residents who would typically struggle if they have to take a bus or multiple buses in order to vote in person to actually make their voices heard. And so I think it's important for the city to continue to move in a progressive way and ensuring that we're able to continue to offer voter increased options for voting going forward. So I'm pro mail-in voting going forward. I think it worked. We'll definitely hear more about lessons learned, but I think it's something we definitely should consider going forward.
Well, I grew up out west, as many people know, so I'm used to having a mail-in election. With my parents my father being in the military, the parents always voted by mail. In Washington State, where my mother lives, that is primarily how people vote. The turnout just told us, I think, as a council, that the future in our elections will be mail-in voting. I mean, it doesn't make any sense for us not to do that again. So I think that's going to be the primary way that people vote in Takoma Park. I think we need to embrace it. They're doing it in Rockville, and it worked. It worked at Takoma Park this time around. Even though we had a pandemic, a lot of people still participated in the process. So I think we have to have vote by mail as the primary way residents can decide who's going to be their elected officials.
I am astounded and very gratified by the turnout. So many people took the time to vote in the city election, and I think that's just fabulous. And I want to see if there are ways that we can continue that engagement on some level, both in Ward 2 and citywide. But yeah, I'm very happy.
I am so excited by the turnout. In Ward 3, we had about 3 times the number of people vote in this election that we did in 2017. So I'm just really, really excited about that. We, of course, we want to see even more people voting, but I think this is an excellent start, and we've learned a lot through the process of having the mail-in voting and being able to do a combination of that with in-person voting, having it at the same time as the presidential elections. I think it really just involved a lot of the community and got people to vote who might not have otherwise voted. So I'm excited about what that means for the future of our city and moving forward for future elections as well. But I think it's great when we have contested elections because it gives us all an opportunity to talk more about issues, to really connect more with the community, and I think it makes elected officials more responsive overall. So I'm really, excited by the number of elections we have when we have people who are seeking office, and it's always great to see people in the community who want to run for office and want to serve in these positions.
I fought hard for and was happy that we did move our elections to synchronize with the presidential and the other elections. In some ways this year we didn't get a full test of that because since people had to mail in 2 separate ballots, that didn't get the same turnout test that we would have gotten if, say, people come in to vote for president and then walk across the hall and vote for mayor and city council because of the mail, and we didn't get that. So the turnout was higher. What I don't think we know 100% yet is whether the turnout was higher because of the mail and their drop-off, because people were just paying attention because there was a contested mayoral election, because they were fired up about the presidential election. So the question for us is, should we go back to how we did it before where people show up at the precincts? Should we go exclusively mail in and drop off, or maybe have some sort of a hybrid? I'd like to hear more from the community and read I think the Board of Elections is going to be preparing a report with more details on exactly how it all flowed and what we got out of it. So I think we should keep mail-in and drop-off as a feature of our elections based on what I saw this time around. Whether that should be exclusively what we do or whether we should still have a little bit more of a return to in-person voting is something I think I'm not ready to say yet where I'd end up on that.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. I'd like to present our new city council for 2020 to 2022.
So this is Small Things Matter. We distribute food to people who are financially insecure, and we have produce and we have canned goods, and people come through and we give them food on a bi-weekly basis so that they can feed their families. So we're an organization run by kids and adults, but not for profit. Just we get donations from people and then we pass them out to these people. We also do some arts and crafts things and some literacy education for people who are financially insecure. So today we're just passing out food to these people. They register, I think, on our website to come by, and then we pass out this food to them so they can go home and they can have food.
I started working with Small Things Matter in the fall of 2019, so I've been at this a little over a year. And I started by helping gather food from wholesale. So my role is to pick up food from a company called Imperfect Foods, which is a food distribution company, and they have surplus food that they donate to us, and we go up on Friday mornings and pick up food from them and haul it back in boxes here to the co-op where it gets packed into bags and distributed. And so every week we go pick that food up first thing in the morning. We're there at 6 o'clock. We're here by 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and we're distributing. Then we, after that, it's just generally whatever needs to be done around here. Pick up cardboard, pick up trash, pack bags, hand out food, all kinds of jobs that need to be done. So on every Friday we pick up the food for distribution, and then during the week there's other foods that come in that we unload from trucks and store for distribution later. So Tuesdays and Fridays I work.
So we were really lucky to get a partnership with Imperfect Foods, and the way it happened is that I reached out to Vic Simon, whose son Ben Simon is the owner of Imperfect Foods, and he's the one that set us up with this wonderful donation program. So we're able to come here every week on Friday mornings and pick up as much produce and fresh vegetables that they have for us, and we can get up to 5,000 to 10,000 pounds of food that way. So it's been a really great resource for us.
Today we packaged produce, so like onions and potatoes in bags, and then we set up tables, and each table has different like things. So one table has meat, and the other tables have like dairy or like eggs, and then the other tables have like pantry items. And so people like check in and come through and get one of each. There's a lot more need right now, but as you can see, there are also a lot of more people willing to volunteer. So it's just, we've expanded a lot, and so we can help more people. It's nice getting to see all of the people that receive the food and see how grateful they are for it. I think the most difficult part is packaging the produce, just because everyone's doing everything at once, and sometimes you don't know how many items are in a bag and you can't really keep track. The best part is like being able to help all these people in need, and like I just feel really good about what I'm doing.
We all do our best. We all try. Everyone here kind of steps up and does their own little bit, so that even though it looks like there's a lot of people here, we all have a common aim, and so we all work together and we all take the initiative, and so we're able to make it work pretty well.
The worst part is probably just the cold. It gets a little frisky out here, but when you're working, it's not too bad.
You put a jacket and a hat on, you put a pair of gloves on if it's cold. We've done it in the rain, we've done it in the wind. We do it in the hot sun in the summertime in shorts and t-shirts. So yeah, we don't let the weather bother us. We just do what we need to do out here.
The best part is definitely being around everyone and feeling that community. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the distributions a lot because you get to see all of the people and directly interact with them.
I want to volunteer at like animal shelters and other stuff, but for now this is really great, especially because I get to see so many people and interact.
I like being with my classmates. I know some of these people from school, so that's always fun, and then making new friends is also a plus side.
Oh, they're amazing. A lot of people from my school help here, so I know a lot of them, and it's really great to see everyone come together.
The pandemic has affected a lot of people, and it's either made them lose their job or get cut pay because of their bosses or the companies that need more money so that they can still run whatever they're running. And I think it's really helpful to a lot of people here to be able to get this help and get the food that they need for their kids and their family.
I think that it's great. I absolutely love what Roxanne does. Small Things Matter is a wonderful, wonderful program, and I'm really glad to be a part of it.
Physical exercise. I get service to the community. I give back. I help people. I'm very fortunate in my life, and so this is something I can do for the rest of the community who haven't had as good fortune. So it's just a community service thing. I've done lots of things over the years, and this is one of the things I do.
As you can see here, there's a lot of people. There were people, and then COVID happened, and a lot more people. So we're doing the best we can, but we can always use your help.
We could always use more volunteers, so if any teens want to come.
It's a pleasure for me to be able to help. It's great to be with all these other volunteers who are all willing to help, and everybody just pitches in. And it's sad to see the long lines, but it's great to be able to help them. I'll keep doing that as long as they need help, and there's people in need, so we'll keep doing it until there's no more need. I mean, it's a good community service activity, but it's also a lot of fun. It's a way to socialize with people, and it's a way to get some exercise since I can't go to the gym these days.
The pandemic, I just feel maybe a little bit more better about what I'm doing, just because, you know, everything's so hard for everyone right now. like work-wise, and then that leads to food stuff sorted. So I just feel a lot better about what I'm doing.
The best part is you kind of get just this feeling, and you see all these people, but when you help out and you help them get what they need, it feels really good.
There you go. Happy holidays.
I really enjoy helping others, so it's nice to give. Bread? Yes, here. Thank you.
You know, selfishly, I get a feeling of virtue seeing, you know, these people go away with food that's healthy, that can help them grow. But also, I do this specifically for, there's this concept I like called tzedakah. It's usually translated as charity, but it actually means justice. And it's this concept that no one got where they were on their own, and so that those people who are a little luckier, who have made it a little further, have this responsibility to help those who weren't as fortunate. It's just kind of justice for those who have to help those who are having a bit of a hard time.
So passionate, guys. Love it. Love it.
Let's go.